Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here on the Exploring the Midwest podcast. Today's episode is all about Iowa, and I cannot wait for you to hear my guest. For those of you listening on the podcast, the Exploring the Midwest broadcast is live on YouTube at 12:10 p.m. Central Time each Wednesday. You can join us live and ask questions and chat with the other viewers. Now I am really excited to introduce you all to Jessica O'Reilly. Jessica is the Tourism Communications Manager for the Iowa Tourism Office. Jessica, thanks so much for coming in today and joining me.
Thanks, Jody. I love bragging about Iowa. This is going to be a fun discussion.
Well, and Iowa is my home state. So I have heard probably everything anybody could say about Iowa. Most often the confusion is the whole Iowa, Idaho, Ohio thing, which I find funny, and probably people from Idaho and Ohio find it funny too, because we just can't understand how anyone can get the states confused. But then there's also the misconception that Iowa is just all farmland, all flat, and not a lot happens here. So what can you tell people about Iowa that might blow those misconceptions just completely out of the water?
Well, to start with, it's not flat, I promise you. The northeast corner, in fact, is where the glacier missed. So if you want to see soaring river bluffs, that's your neck of the woods right there. The only remaining Frank Lloyd Wright designed hotel in the world, that's right, in the world, is located right here in Mason City, Iowa. We also have the Loess Hills out west, which is comprised of this gritty soil. The only other place it gets to the same depths is in China. So to start with, there's a few things.
Now, for those watching on the live broadcast or the replay, Jessica and I are going to kind of condense ourselves to the side, and we're going to show some beautiful Iowa footage while we chat. So enjoy this little video montage and learn a little bit more about the state while we talk. Now, Iowa has a lot going for it. Obviously, it has a lot of farmland. We feed a lot of the country, but it has so many other attributes that people might not think they would find. So what are the kind of things that people are interested in when they come to Iowa? What are they looking for, and what kind of things might they find that they might not expect?
So I think, for one, we found that people don't have a negative impression of Iowa. They just often don't have one. Like, they haven't considered Iowa. It's not even on their radar screen, or they're like, I don't know enough about it to have an opinion. But if we can get them here to experience all we have to see and do, they are blown away by all our opportunities. In fact, that bridge right there that we're seeing, the High Trestle Trail Bridge, is, I would say, world renowned for its architecture and stunning views of the river valley. I remember on I believe it was The Voice, the backdrop of one of the contestants looked exactly like the bridge. And I thought, well, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And so clearly they were aware of our bridge as well.
And I have met people from all over the world when I biked across that bridge. I'm lucky enough that the High Trestle Trail actually begins in the town I live in. And this is the trail that I ride so often throughout the summer, and even I'll drive out there and just watch it at night. It's such an amazing bridge and piece of architecture.
And just one of the amazing trails we have in Iowa. We have, I think it's like 2,000 miles of bike trails if you want to, and all sorts of corners up in the Driftless area in Decorah, the Trout Run Trail. Parts of it are flat, but then parts of it are switchbacks into bluffs. I have biked the whole thing and run the whole thing, and so I can vouch. Indeed, Iowa is not flat over there.
So when people are coming to Iowa and they're looking for an outdoor activity, what kinds of things can they find here in the state? Because there's so much variety.
There is. We have an amazing state park system. We have an amazing county park system. Some of the more popular parks, like Backbone State Park in Northeast Iowa, Maquoketa Caves. I think people don't think that Iowa has caves, but the Maquoketa Caves are fantastic. So we've got everything you want. Rock climbing. Something people might be very surprised we have here are whitewater courses. So we actually have 3. The first one was in Charles City, and now we have ones in Elkader and Manchester as well.
And then obviously we produce a lot of food here in Iowa. We have just acres and acres of cornfield and soybeans, which I'm not sure if our soybeans are made into edamame, but it would certainly make sense that they would be. And then I think a fact that I've heard bandied about is more pigs than people. So lots of great bacon, but there are other food opportunities here in Iowa that people might be a little surprised about.
Right. I mean, farm to table is a very short distance here. So we have that working for us. I think when people think of us, they might think of the tenderloins. Every year, the Iowa pork producers name a best breaded tenderloin in the state. So we've sort of adopted that their tenderloin trail. You can find it on traveliowa.com and start eating your way through Iowa that way. A lot of great cheese manufacturers. So like the world famous Maytag blue cheese. We've got Milton Creamery, Kelowna Creamery. WW Homestead Dairy in Waukon bills themselves as the cheese curd capital of Iowa. So lots of options. What are some of your favorites, Jody?
Oh, I love food.
Yes.
I really love if you come in on I-80 and you want a really great meal. Just past Iowa City is the Amana Colonies. And if you like German food,
and
that
lots
is
of it.
just amazing. Right here we have the Blue Bunny, which is the ice cream capital of the world. One of my favorite places to visit. Their ice cream shop is just wonderful.
Adorable.
And oh gosh, in my mind, you just can't beat a really great Iowa steak.
Yes. I also love bakeries. I'm like known in the office for knowing each town that has a little bakery or chocolate shop. So anytime I'm over in sort of Western Iowa near Dexter and I can swing by Drew's Chocolates, I'm going to stop in there. I love finding those little places sort of.
And that is a tiny little place. My mother actually lives in Dexter, and you would have no idea this little chocolate shop is in there.
In the basement of a house, but it's amazing and totally worth the stop.
And people order chocolates from across the country from there. So really, really good. But beyond the food, we have wineries and cideries and distilleries.
And breweries. Yeah. Don't forget the beer.
Yeah, I'm not a beer drinker, so it comes last in my list.
That's fine.
But people are really surprised by the quality of Iowa wines and beers.
Yes, we have a whole wine and beer promotion board that just talks about how great wine and beer is. And I think what's great about them is when you go visit their tasting rooms, they are so passionate about their product that they can't help but gush about it to you. And so you just sort of get sucked into their experience. And I think that's one of the best things if you're sitting out with some of them have views over their vineyards. Like, is there anything better than sitting in a patio in the summer with a glass of wine, just relaxing? So
not at all. Not at all. Now, Debbie Lander, and I know Debbie is in Florida, has asked about historic spots in Iowa. And we have quite a few because if you think way back, Iowa was kind of the last settled area before you went west. We had a lot of important historic spots.
Indeed. I mean, and modern history too, if we want to talk about. I know we've seen the surf ballroom float by, certainly the winter dance party where Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper performed their last show before their plane unfortunately crashed not far out of Clear Lake. And the State Historical Society does a great job at the historical building of telling Iowa's story through the years. I swear every county has a historical museum. So if you have, tracing genealogy back to a specific county, you can find more about that county there. Just a lot of great museums offering ways to experience the story, like Living History Farms in Urbandale, which is a story of Iowa's agriculture from 1700 all the way up to current. So it's a nice way to sort of see the expanse of the ag industry as it has changed.
Well, and then you had a lot of people settling in Iowa when they immigrated into the U.S. Obviously, I've mentioned the Amana colonies, which was religious freedom for, I've lost it now, the Friends? No. What were they?
Yeah, we'll tell you later.
But we have large Amish communities, large Mennonite communities, Dutch communities. So we have a lot of European history here in Iowa that come from our immigrant settlers through the last 150, 200 years.
We joke you can travel Europe without leaving Iowa because you can go to Elkhorn and see the Danish windmill that actually was a windmill from Denmark that was dismantled and then rebuilt here in Elkhorn in the 1970s. But then we've got the National Czech and Slovak Museum in Cedar Rapids. We've got Norwegian heritage in the northeast corner, Swedes. We talked Pella and Orange City for Dutch heritage. So you really can get a whole European flavor without even leaving the state.
It is really a very interesting thing to do when you drive through Iowa and get off the interstate and you see the small towns, and you can really get a great flavor of kind of how they were settled as well as how they've grown. Now, Iowa has a few places that are known world over, some in parody, some in song, some in movies, and this was probably one of the best right here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's amazing when you think about the Field of Dreams shot in the movie came out, I think, in 1989, and people still flock to the field. And I love that it is free. Like, you can just pull up, and every time I've ever gone, there are cars from other states. One of my favorite stories, though, is one time I was there with a group of Japanese journalists. I was, touring them around the state. And we happened to land there on Father's Day, which is an amazing time to be at the Field of Dreams because there were so many dads playing catch with their kids. And here was Tony Orlando. That was the gift from his kids. His kids had delivered him to the Field of Dreams. And so here's Tony Orlando talking to this Japanese journalist. And I thought, baseball's like the universal language. We really are having a conversation that you would think, like, how would this work? And I thought the funniest thing was someone said, we were talking about it being free, and someone said to Tony Orlando, like, can you imagine if this was in New York? And he's like, forget about it.
Oh my gosh, that is the best story. But beyond Field of Dreams, we have the Bridges of Madison County, which was a very popular book, and then a movie. The Iowa State Fair, which I know people will argue, I think it's the best state fair in the country.
No argument for me on that one.
Books. There was a musical and movie and things like that. And then we have the American Gothic House, which flashed through a couple of minutes ago. And that has to be the most parodied painting in the world. I mean, you've seen it with Bugs Bunny, you've seen it with Mickey Mouse, you've seen it on, posters everywhere. So really just a lot of Iowa that comes through your life that you might not even realize.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people maybe realize that house actually exists at all, and that it still exists, and that you can actually go visit it. And when the visitor center is open, they have costumes you can borrow, and they're so sweet. They tell you exactly where to stand, and they'll take your picture, and you can have, what a great souvenir. Here you are in front of the American Gothic House. Like,
only it really is fun. Yeah, it really is fun. Now, there are a few things that Iowa has coming up this year that are pretty special. And to kind of wrap up before we get into the comments and questions, can you tell us 3 things for 2021 that if you're planning an Iowa vacation, you might want to add to your itinerary?
I certainly can. So the first and the biggest probably is the Lauritsen Skate Park opening in Des Moines. May 22nd is the grand opening. It will be the country's largest skate park. It's over 80,000 square feet with all these certain features that mean things to skaters, but not really to me. But we're very excited. That's been like years and years in the making, and it's located right downtown Des Moines next to the river. So it's a wonderful spot, and we're hoping to draw lots of people for competitions and visiting the downtown district. So we're very excited about that one.
I didn't realize that was going to be the largest in the country.
Yeah, in the country. So yeah, it's kind of a big deal. I think we saw pictures of Ryman Gardens go by earlier. It's an outdoor garden in Ames, home of Iowa State University, and they're opening. They've got two exciting things going on. So I'm sort of going 2A and 2B here. I'm sneaking in 4 things. So Sycamore Falls is finally opening. This is another several years in the making, an expanse to their original gardens. And I love this tower that they constructed out of felled trees from the campus. So it's this stunning, stunning addition to the park. So go check that out. And then also this summer, they always have great exhibits. They're like temporary exhibits. This one is origami. So if you think about, how graceful and stuff that origami out of paper is, take that times 27 or something and make it out of metal and place that in the garden. So it's going to be fantastic. That's sometime this spring. So watch their website for that. And then we mentioned the Field of Dreams, and what was supposed to happen in 2020 has been pushed to 2021. And we're very excited to be hosting a Major League Baseball game right here in Iowa. Regular season should be the Chicago White Sox against the New York Yankees. So we're very excited.
That's huge.
I know.
Wow.
We're very excited.
That's amazing. I knew we were going to have a major league game. I did not know it was the Yankees coming in, and that kind of adds this, star power to it.
I know. Well, and then they're not actually, I need to be clear, they're not playing on the actual field. They've actually constructed a temporary stadium. So it's modeled after Comiskey Park, which is where the White Sox played. So that's where they'll be playing the game. So, but there are other things to do in Gardensville. In fact, they just opened a new museum with memorabilia and such related to the museum, and a mural outside the building with the corn stalks and some ghost players, so you can slip yourself in there and get your photo taken.
That is some really exciting events coming up in Iowa. Now, I want to take a minute to recognize the people who have joined us today. We have Country Pilgrim, who says the trails are amazing in Iowa, and I have to agree. We have great trails, biking and hiking,
water trails,
and water trails. Oh my gosh! And those are so fun. And those are all. I mean, you're going to find information about all of those on the Travel Iowa website, and very good information, I have to say.
We try to make it as easy as possible for people to plan their trips in Iowa. We want people to explore. We often say the best way is to get off the interstates and explore those back roads and find those small towns and enjoy the hospitality.
And he also mentioned that we forgot to talk about Iowa sweet corn, which I know people come from as far as Texas to get Iowa sweet corn in season.
And I have heard that you can carry it on your plane. So if you come in and you're flying out, they'll let you check it through.
I know people who bring coolers and check the cooler through on their way home and take home coolers full of Iowa corn.
Fantastic. I would also mention watermelons. I grew up southeast Iowa, where we were known for watermelons. So I would say a shout out to Muscatine watermelons.
And then Indiana logged in. Now, this is fun. Indiana will be joining me next week, so you want to make sure to tune in for that. And they just say, hello, Jessica. It's nice to see you. So as we get ready to wrap this up, can you tell everyone the best place? Oh, I'm going to interrupt. Fran Folsom, and she's actually from the Cambridge area in Massachusetts, said, isn't there a new hotel opening in Des Moines? And actually, this just opened, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's the same one, yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that
Well,
one?
I know a little. The Surety Hotel, is that the one you're thinking of too, Jody? That
It
opened
is.
in, like, an old insurance building, I
Yep.
think. So that, yes, just opened in downtown Des Moines. If I could plug a couple other new hotels while we're here, Hotel Millwright in the Amanas opened in October, I believe, and it's in converted woolen mill buildings that weren't being used. So they've really incorporated the heritage of the woolen mill into the hotel. It's stunning. And then the Highlander Hotel in Iowa City was a supper club back in the 1960s. It's been renovated. It's super retro, and they have record players and vinyl you can check out for your rooms.
Oh, that's fun. I didn't know about the one in the Amana colonies, and that excites me because the woolen mills in the Amana colonies actually supply costumes to Hollywood that are, they will contract them to make the woolen costumes for movies because they still do the wool in the
Mm-hmm.
old ways.
Yeah. And you can, take a little tour, self tour of the mill when it's operating. So many things to do, Jody.
So many.
We've like barely scratched the surface of
I
things to do in
know, I
Iowa.
know. There's so many surprises in Iowa. So tell me, for people who want to know more about the state and want to maybe start planning their own Iowa adventure, how can they get their hands on your beautiful guide?
Fantastic. So traveliowa.com, the website, that'll help you plan too. But if you want a hard copy of our fantastic travel guide, you can place your order right there on the website.
And I do have to say, the Travel Iowa website is just amazing. It has maps, and you can like plan your trip with it. And they have. I know that the last few years you had, like, if you're crossing Iowa on I-80, there were all these
Mhm.
tips for things that were like 8 miles off I-80 across the state, and just so many amazing, amazing tips, and some really good RVing information too, I have to say.
Yes, yes, there is. Again, we try to make it so easy. We try to make it so easy for you.
All right. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for joining me today. This was so much fun, and so many things about Iowa.
Let's do it
Um,
again.
yes, we'll have to do it again. And I'm sure there will be more Iowa information coming up in the coming episodes as we get into our monthly themes. So thank you again. And for everyone watching, for more information, you need to visit traveliowa.com. All right. Thanks everyone for watching.